The text message arrived at 11 p.m. Ellie was in her kitchen, finishing her last cup of coffee for the day, when her phone buzzed. She read it once, then twice, then a third time. And for the first time in 8 long years, Ellie smiled. The message read, "Dear Ellie, after all these years, the Sterling family would like to offer you a special tribute at our anniversary gala. It would be an honor to have you join us as our guest of honor." Ellie knew the Sterlings. She knew them better than anyone in the world. She had cleaned up their messes for 25 years. She had overheard their whispered secrets in rooms they thought were empty. She had seen them at their worst, when they believed she was invisible, and she knew exactly what that message meant. It wasn't a tribute. It was an ambush. But what the Sterlings didn't know was that Ellie had been waiting for this invitation for 8 years. If you've ever felt like the world was against you, like you've worked your entire life, only to be treated like garbage, then you need to hear this story to the end, because what Ellie did that night changed everything. Those 200 people thought they knew about justice. To understand what happened at that gala, I need to take you back 25 years to the day Ellie, a 43-year-old black woman, heavy-set, with hands cracked from washing other people's clothes, rang the doorbell of the Sterling estate for the very first time. Mrs. Eleanor Sterling opened the door. She looked Ellie up and down, then down and up, like she was examining a used piece of furniture before buying it. "Do you know how to iron silk shirts?" Mrs. Sterling asked without even a greeting. "I can iron anything, Mum," and Ellie replied. "We'll see," Mrs. Sterling said. "The uniform is in the servants' quarters. Blue, white apron, every day, no exceptions." And that's how it all began. 25 years of yes, Mum. 25 years of no, Mum. 25 years of waking up at 5 a.m. to arrive by 6. 25 years of leaving at 8 p.m. to get home by 10. 25 years of cleaning up what others dirtied, of tidying what others messed up, of silencing what others shouted. Ellie watched Brittany Sterling grow up. She saw her go from a spoiled child to a cruel teenager, to a ruthless woman. She saw how Brittany treated the other employees, how she screamed at them for mistakes she made, how she humiliated them in front of guests to demonstrate her power. But Ellie never said a word, because Ellie understood something the Sterlings would never understand. The silence of the poor isn't submission, it's survival. There was one detail nobody noticed. Every night before leaving, Ellie would take a small notebook from her pocket, and she would write dates, names, exact words, everything she saw, everything she heard, everything she endured. It wasn't revenge. It was memory. Because Ellie knew that someday, someone would need to remember. The years passed. Mrs. Sterling got older. Mr. Sterling died of a heart attack while yelling on the phone with a business partner. Brittany married a man as cruel as she was. They had children who learned to treat the staff exactly as their parents had treated them. And Ellie remained there, cleaning, silently observing, writing, until the day of the accident. It was a Tuesday in November. Ellie was 60 years old. Brittany ordered her to bring down some boxes from the attic, heavy boxes, filled with Christmas decorations that the family used once a year, and then forgot about for the rest of the time. The ladder was old. Ellie had reported it 3 times. 3 times she was told there was no budget to replace it. On the 4th rung, the wood gave way. Ellie fell 12 feet. She fractured her hip. She broke 3 ribs. She lay there on the attic floor for 40 minutes until someone found her. Brittany came to see her as the paramedics were putting her on the stretcher. She didn't ask if she was okay, or she didn't ask if she needed anything. She only said one phrase that Ellie would never forget. "Voiker, I hope this doesn't affect tomorrow's service. We're having guests." Ellie spent 3 months in recovery. 3 months without a salary because she had never been formally employed. 3 months eating whatever her neighbors gave her. 3 months wondering how she was going to pay the rent. When she could finally walk with a cane, she returned to the Sterling estate. not to work, to talk. Brittany met her at the service entrance. She didn't let her in. "Mrs. Sterling," Ellie said, "I worked here for 25 years. I fell because of a ladder I reported 3 times. I need help with my medical expenses." Brittany looked at her like she was looking at a stain on the carpet. "Ellie," she said in a cold voice, "you don't have a contract and you don't have any rights, and frankly, after 25 years, you're good for nothing. Your replacement started last week. She's younger, faster, and she doesn't complain." "But Mom," Ellie insisted, 25 years has to mean something." Brittany took an envelope from her pocket. She held it out to Ellie. "Here you go, your termination letter, signed and dated. Now leave. And don't ever ring this doorbell again." Ellie took the envelope. She opened it. She read the words written by Mrs. Sterling herself before she died. Words that said, "The employee Ellie Santos is disposable. 25 years of service constitute no legal or moral obligation for this family." Disposable, that was the word. 25 years of her life summarized in one word: disposable. Ellie kept that letter. She folded it carefully. She put it in her pocket. And she walked down the street with her cane, without looking back. But there was something the Sterlings didn't know, something nobody knew, something that would change everything. Ellie had a routine she had never shared with anyone. Every week, for 30 years, she bought the same lottery ticket, the same numbers, the same as always: her mother's birthday, her father's birthday, the date of her own wedding, even though her husband had died decades ago. 8 months after being fired, Ellie was sitting in her small rented room, eating mac and cheese she had cooked for the entire week. She had the television on in the background, as always, to feel less alone. And then she heard the numbers. She heard them once. She heard them twice. She heard them 3 times as the announcer repeated them. They were her numbers, all 6 numbers. Ellie got up slowly. She walked to her purse. She took out the ticket. She compared it to the screen, number by number, one by one. $287 million. Sole winner. Full prize. Ellie sat down again, finished her mac and cheese out, washed her plate, dried it, put it away, and then, only then, Eleanor began to cry. But these weren't tears of joy. They were tears of something deeper, something she'd kept bottled up for 25 years, something that finally had permission to come out. If this story is stirring something within you, if you're remembering every time you were made to feel small, every time you were treated like you were worthless, then you need to stick around, because what Ellie did with that money wasn't what anyone would expect. Most people who win the lottery do 3 things. They buy a huge house, they buy an expensive car, and they tell everyone. Ellie did none of those things. The first thing she did was call a lawyer, not just any lawyer. The same lawyer who had tried to help her sue the Sterlings years ago, Dr. Henry Bass. The case had been lost due to lack of evidence, lack of witnesses, lack of power against power. "Dr. Henry," Eleanor said over the phone, "I need you to come to my place. I have some work for you." The lawyer arrived expecting to find a desperate woman looking for another legal shot. What he found was Eleanor sitting at her kitchen table with a lottery ticket and a handwritten list of instructions. "We're going to do everything legally," Eleanor said. "We're going to create companies, and we're going to invest, and we're going to buy properties. But no one, absolutely no one, can know the money is mine. My name cannot appear on any public document." Dr. Henry looked at her, confused. "Mrs. Eleanor, with this money, you can live like a queen. You can buy the Sterling estate if you want. You can do whatever you want." Eleanor smiled. It was the same smile she'd have 8 years later, when she received the text message. "Doctor," Eleanor said, "I don't want to live like a queen. I want certain people to understand something. And for that, I need time. I need patience. I need no one to know." Thus began Eleanor's 8 years of silence. She kept living in the same rented room. She kept wearing the same simple clothes, or She kept walking the same old streets. Her neighbors kept giving her food, thinking she was still poor. She accepted everything with gratitude, not out of need, out of affection, out of not wanting things to change. But while everyone saw her as the same, Eleanor was building an invisible empire. She bought cleaning companies, 3 in the first city, 5 more in neighboring towns, all operating under different names, all employing women like her, women who had been discarded, women who thought they were worthless. Eleanor paid them double the minimum wage, gave them health insurance, gave them paid vacation, gave them dignity. But there was something more, something Eleanor was waiting for, a specific opportunity. The Sterlings were falling. The information trickled in. Dr. Henry sent reports every month. Mr. Sterling had hidden debts. The family business was losing contracts. Brittany kept spending like nothing had changed. But the numbers weren't adding up. They sold the estate where Eleanor had worked for 25 years. They sold it at a ridiculous price to pay off urgent debts. Brittany moved to an apartment, which was still luxurious, but a fraction of what she had before, and still. Brittany kept throwing parties, kept faking it, kept inviting people who no longer respected her, but came out of curiosity to see how far she would fall. Then came the announcement. The 25th wedding anniversary party for Brittany and her husband. The last big event they could afford. The last attempt to prove they were still important. And someone had an idea. A cruel idea. A perfect idea for cruel people. Invite the old maid. Give her a fake tribute. Laugh at her in front of everyone. Reminisce about the old days. When they had servants, when they had power, when they could humiliate whoever they wanted. The message arrived on Eleanor's phone at 11 at night, and Eleanor smiled, because there was a detail no one knew. A detail that would change everything that night. The venue where Brittany had booked her party was one of the most elegant in the city. 200 people confirmed. Imported decor. French champagne. All designed to prove that the Sterlings were still someone. But 2 months before the party, that venue had changed owners. The new owner was a company called Dignity Investments, a company that belonged to a group called the Santos Foundation, a foundation that in turn belonged to a single person, Eleanor Santos. Brittany didn't know it. The venue manager didn't know it. No one knew it except Dr. Henry and Eleanor. Brittany Sterling's humiliation party would take place on the property of the woman she planned to humiliate. But wait, because what happened that night was much more complex than you imagine, and it all started 3 hours before Eleanor received the message. There was a meeting, a secret meeting at Brittany's house, attended by her closest friends, women who had grown up with her, women who shared her cruelty like one shares an expensive wine. The plan was simple. Invite Eleanor as a guest of honor. Seat her at a special table. Project old photos of her in her blue uniform. And then, Brittany would give a speech she had written herself. A speech that said things like, "We want to thank the woman who cleaned up our dirt for 25 years, literally and figuratively." A speech designed to make 200 people laugh at the expense of a woman who had no way to defend herself. Or so they thought, because while Brittany rehearsed her humiliation speech, Eleanor was in a downtown office, trying on a black gown designed specifically for her, a diamond necklace she had bought at a Christie's auction, red high-heeled shoes that had cost her more than the annual salary she was never paid, and reviewing, for the last time, the documents she would carry that night. The deed to the party venue, the contracts for her cleaning companies, and something else, something she had kept for 8 years, next to the winning lottery ticket, the termination letter, the same letter that said she was disposable, the same letter signed by Mrs. Eleanor Sterling, the same letter that Brittany had handed her at the servants' entrance, while telling her she was no longer good for anything. Eleanor folded the documents carefully, put them in an elegant envelope, and looked out the window of her office at the night sky. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow, They will finally understand. But they won't understand what they think I'm going to teach them. They'll understand something much more important. The day of the party dawned perfect. Clear skies, pleasant temperature, as if the universe itself had conspired to create the ideal setting. Brittany arrived at the venue at 4 in the afternoon. She supervised every detail: the flowers, the tables, the screen where Ellie's photos in her uniform would be projected, the podium where she would give her speech. Everything was perfect for the humiliation. The guests began to arrive at 7, 200 people from high society, or what was left of it. They all knew about the plan. They were all waiting for the moment. Some had even brought their cell phones, ready to record. At 8 o'clock sharp, everyone was seated. The champagne flowed. Conversations buzzed. And everyone watched the main entrance, waiting to see an old employee in humble clothes, confused, ready to be the entertainment for the evening. But Ellie didn't enter through the main door. At 8:15, something unexpected happened. The lights in the hall flickered. Once, twice, 3 times, and then they went out completely. A murmur swept through the crowd. Some laughed nervously. Others fumbled for their cell phones for light. And then, everyone heard it. A distant sound. A sound that was approaching. A sound that made the crystal glasses on the tables vibrate. The sound of a helicopter. 200 people looked up at the same time. Through the windows of the hall, they saw the helicopter's lights descending toward the back garden. They saw the spotlights turn on, illuminating the landing area like a Hollywood stage. Brittany rose from her chair. Her face showed utter confusion. This wasn't in the program, she whispered to her husband. The helicopter landed. The rotors continued to spin slowly as the side door opened. A staircase descended automatically. And then a shoe appeared. A red, high-heeled shoe, followed by a leg, followed by a black evening gown, followed by a diamond necklace that sparkled under the spotlights, followed by the face of Elena Santos. But it wasn't the Ellie that Brittany expected. It wasn't the old employee in a blue uniform. It wasn't the woman she had dismissed at the back door. It wasn't the disposable woman. This was a woman who walked like someone who walked on her own territory, because that's exactly what she was doing. Ellie descended the steps of the helicopter with the calm of someone who had rehearsed this moment for 8 years. Behind her, Dr. Enrique Bastos, dressed in a dark suit, carried a leather briefcase. 200 people fell into absolute silence. The cell phones that were going to record the humiliation were now recording something completely different, something that no one had anticipated, something that no one could explain. Ellie entered the hall through the garden door. She walked among the tables with the same ease with which she had walked thousands of times, carrying trays, cleaning glasses, picking up napkins. But this time, she wasn't wearing a uniform. This time, she wasn't looking at the floor. This time, everyone who met her eyes looked away first. She reached where Brittany was standing. She stopped a meter away. She looked her directly in the eyes. Brittany tried to speak. She tried to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come out. Ellie spoke first. Her voice was calm, neither high nor low, just calm. "Good evening, Brittany. Thank you for the invitation. I was told you wanted to pay me a tribute." Brittany finally found her voice. It came out shaky, confused. "Ellie, it's just, how? What's going on?" Ellie smiled, the same smile she had when she read the text message. "What's going on? Good question. Let me explain." She took an envelope from her purse, an elegant, sealed envelope, with a logo that Brittany didn't recognize. "This is my anniversary gift for you. Open it." Brittany took the envelope with trembling hands. She opened it. She took out the documents it contained, and her face turned completely white. It was the deed to the venue, the same venue where they were standing, the same venue that Brittany had rented for her anniversary party. But the owner's name had changed. Now it read, Santos Foundation, owner, Eleanor Santos. I don't understand, Brittany whispered. Ellie nodded slowly. I know. You never understood anything, let me explain. And then, in front of 200 people who had come to laugh at an old employee, Eleanor Santos told her story, but she didn't tell it shouting. She didn't tell it crying. She didn't tell it with anger. She told it with the same calm voice with which she had accepted orders for 25 years. Only this time, she was the one talking, and everyone else was listening. I started working for your family when I was 43 years old, Ellie said, looking at Brittany but speaking to everyone. Your mother hired me on a Tuesday in March. She told me the uniform was blue with a white apron, that I should arrive at 6 in the morning, that I should leave after the family finished dinner. She never asked my full name. She never asked if I had a family. She never asked me anything. Ellie paused. She looked around. 200 faces watched her in absolute silence. For 25 years, Ellie continued, I was the first person to arrive at that house and the last to leave. I saw everything, I heard everything, and I kept silent about everything, because that's what maids do. We keep silent, not because we don't have a voice, but because no one wants to listen to us. Brittany tried to interrupt. Ellie raised a hand, a simple gesture, but it had the effect of an absolute command. Brittany closed her mouth. But there was something I did every night before I left, Ellie said, something that no one knew. She reached into her purse. She took out an old notebook, worn out, with yellowed pages and a torn cover. I wrote everything that happened, every word they said to me, every humiliation I endured. It's all here. 25 years of memory. A murmur swept through the room. Some guests looked at each other. Some began to sweat, because many of them had been in that estate. Many of them had said things in front of the maid thinking she was invisible. Many of them now wondered what she had written about them. But relax, Ellie said with a slight smile. I didn't come to reveal secrets. Your secrets belong to you. I came to reveal mine. She put away the notebook. She took out another document. This one was newer, printed on high-quality paper. 8 months after they fired me. I won $287 million in the lottery. The silence that followed was so profound, you could hear the air conditioning humming in the room. 287 million, Ellie repeated. A single winner, no splitting it. All mine. Brittany's jaw dropped. She snapped it shut, then opened it again. Impossible, she finally managed to stammer. We would have known. It would have been on the news. Ellie nodded slowly. You're right. It would have been on the news, if I'd wanted it to be. But I didn't. So I took precautions. I claimed the prize through a trust. Never gave interviews, never showed my face, never did anything that could reveal my identity. Why? Someone asked from the back of the room. Ellie scanned the room, searching for the voice. It was a woman in her 60s, one of Mrs. Eleanor Sterling's old cronies, one of those who'd treated Ellie like a piece of furniture for decades. Because revenge served in haste is empty revenge, Ellie responded, her voice steady. And I didn't want empty revenge. I wanted something more. What did you want then? The woman pressed. I wanted this moment, this exact moment, this moment when you, and she and all of you finally see me. If you're listening to this and you've ever been made to feel invisible, if you've ever worked tirelessly for years only to be treated like you don't exist, then you know exactly what Ellie is talking about. And you need to stay tuned. Because what she said next changed everything. Ellie walked towards the center of the grand ballroom. Her red stilettos clicked sharply on the marble floor, the same kind of floor she had scrubbed on her hands and knees 1,000 times. When I was fired, Ellie began, her voice resonating through the room, your mother wrote something on my termination letter. One word. A single word that sums up how you saw me for 25 years. She pulled the letter from the envelope. The same old letter. The same letter she had kept tucked away with the lottery ticket. She unfolded it slowly, deliberately. Disposable. That's what it said. Eleanor Santos is disposable. She looked directly at Brittany. You handed me this letter at the back door. You told me I was worthless, that my replacement was younger, faster, and didn't complain. Brittany was visibly shaking. Her friends had subtly distanced themselves from her, like rats deserting a sinking ship. "Do you know what I did with this letter?" Ellie asked, her gaze unwavering. Brittany shook her head, unable to speak. "I kept it. I kept it right next to my winning lottery ticket. And every time I doubted myself, every time I thought about wasting that money on useless luxuries, every time I considered doing something stupid, I'd pull out this letter and read it." "Why?" Brittany whispered, her voice barely audible. "Because this letter reminded me who I don't want to be. This letter reminded me that money doesn't make you a better person. This letter reminded me that how you treat those who can't defend themselves defines who you really are." Ellie folded the letter carefully. She slipped it back into its envelope. "And for 8 years, I thought about what to do with my money. I thought about buying mansions, I thought about buying sports cars, I thought about traveling the world. I could do all those things. I can do all those things." She paused for dramatic effect, but I decided to do something different. She turned towards Dr. Henrique, who had remained silent near the entrance. "Doctor, please." The lawyer opened his briefcase. He removed a thick file. He handed it to Ellie. "For the past 8 years," Ellie said, holding up the documents for all to see, "I've created 11 cleaning businesses in 7 different cities. All of them exclusively employ women who were fired from domestic work. Women over 50. Women who thought they were worthless." She flipped through the pages of the document. "Each of these companies pays double the minimum wage. Each offers comprehensive health insurance. Each provides professional training. Each treats its employees like what they are, human beings." Another murmur rippled through the room. This one was different. Some faces showed something that might have been admiration, or confusion, or perhaps shame. "But that's not all," Ellie continued, her voice gaining strength. 2 months ago, I bought this ballroom." She gestured around the room, encompassing everything within her gaze. "This very ballroom where we're standing. This very ballroom that Brittany rented for her anniversary party. This very ballroom where she planned to humiliate me in front of all of you." Brittany brought her hands to her face. Her shoulders began to tremble uncontrollably. "You knew," she managed to choke out between sobs. "You knew what we were planning." Ellie nodded once, decisively. "Yes, I knew. I knew from the moment I received the invitation. It didn't take a genius to figure it out. 25 years working for your family taught me exactly how you think, exactly how you operate, exactly what kind of entertainment you enjoy." "Then why did you come?" Brittany screamed, her voice laced with desperation. "If you knew we wanted to humiliate you, why did you come?" Ellie was silent for a moment, a long moment, a moment that seemed to stretch into hours. "Because I wanted you to see me," she said finally, her voice soft but firm. "I wanted all of you to see me, not to humiliate you, not to get revenge, but to show you something you never understood." She approached Brittany. She stopped just inches from her face. "I am not disposable. None of us are disposable. And if it took me winning $287 million and waiting 8 years for you to finally understand that, then it was worth it." But there was something more, something that Ellie hadn't revealed yet, something that would change not only that night, but the coming years of many lives. "There's one more thing I need to tell you, Brittany." Brittany looked up, her eyes red and swollen with tears. Her makeup was streaked across her cheeks. "This ballroom," Ellie said, gesturing around the room once more. "I didn't buy it for my personal use. I bought it to transform it." "Transform it into what?" someone asked, their voice filled with curiosity. Ellie smiled, a broad, radiant smile, a smile that illuminated her tired but dignified face. "Starting next month, this place will become the Santos Foundation Training Center, a place where women working in domestic service can learn their labor rights, where they can study personal finance, where they can take courses in any profession they want to learn, where they can sit in these elegant chairs and know that they belong here just as much as anyone else." The silence that followed was different from all the others. This was a silence of understanding, of something falling into place. Ellie hadn't come to destroy Brittany. She had come to build something bigger. "I want you to understand something, Brittany," Ellie said. turning back to face her. I don't hate you. I never hated you. Hate is a luxury we poor people can't afford. It consumes too much energy. Energy we need to survive. She took a step back. But I don't forgive you either. Forgiveness is something that's earned. And you never did a thing to earn it. Brittany was sobbing openly. Her husband tried to comfort her, but he looked just as lost. What I can do, Eleanor continued, is give you a choice. A choice? Brittany repeated, her voice breaking. Yes, a choice. You can continue being who you've always been. You can walk out of here and pretend this never happened. You can keep believing people like me are disposable. You can go on living in your little world of lies until it completely crumbles. Because it will crumble. It always does. Eleanor paused, letting her words sink in. Or you can do something different. You can come to the center when it opens. Not as a visitor, as a volunteer. You can teach the women who come here something. Anything. Social etiquette. Event planning. Whatever you know how to do. You can use what you have to help those who don't. Brittany stared at her in disbelief. Are you offering me a job? She asked. No, I'm offering you redemption. They're very different things. Dr. Henrique stepped forward. Mrs. Sterling, he said quietly, the media are outside. Someone called. They want to know what's going on. Eleanor nodded. Let them in. It's time the world knows. But before the cameras rolled, before the reporters began their questions, before Eleanor's story became national news, she did something no one expected. She pulled out her cell phone, opened her photo gallery, and searched for a specific image. It was an old photo. A picture of herself in her blue uniform and white apron, standing by the servants' entrance to the Sterling estate, smiling, despite everything. This photo, Eleanor said, showing it to everyone, was taken on my first day working for the Sterlings. I was 43 years old. I had nothing but my hands and my willingness to work. She put her phone away. And you know what? I'm proud of that woman. I'm proud of every day she spent scrubbing floors. I'm proud of every time she said yes, moms, even when she wanted to scream no. I'm proud that she survived. She looked directly into the cameras that were now entering the room. Money didn't make me who I am. I made me who I am. Money just gave me the opportunity to show it. Flashes went off. Questions piled up. Chaos took over the elegant drawing room. But amidst all the noise, Brittany Sterling remained seated in her chair, staring blankly, clutching the deed to a center that no longer belonged to her, and never truly had. And Eleanor, the disposable woman, the useless employee, the old black and heavy woman they had invited to humiliate, stood in the center of her own property, telling her story to the world. But the night wasn't over yet. And what happened after the cameras left was perhaps the most important thing of all. The interviews lasted almost 2 hours. Every television channel, every newspaper, every news outlet wanted an exclusive. Eleanor answered them all with the same calm, the same quiet voice, the same dignity she had maintained through 25 years of silence and 8 years of waiting. But while the cameras were rolling, something was happening in the corners of the room. Something the reporters didn't notice because they were too busy with the main story. The catering staff were crying. There were 8 women, all dressed in black with white aprons, all over 50 years old. All of them had heard every word Eleanor had said, and they were all crying silently, trying not to be seen, trying to continue working as tears streamed down their faces. Eleanor noticed them. In the middle of an interview, she raised her hand to pause the journalist and walked towards them. The journalist tried to follow her with the camera. Eleanor turned around. "This is private," she said. "Turn that off." The cameraman lowered his camera. Some habits of obedience are hard to break. When a woman speaks with that authority. Eleanor approached the 8 employees. She stopped in front of them and looked at them one by one. "What are your names?" she asked. One by one they said their names. Mary, Josephine, Antoinette, Louise, Carmen, Rose, Dolores, Hope. Eleanor repeated each name, slowly, as if memorizing something important. Mary, Josephine, Antoinette, Louise, Carmen, Rose, Dolores, Hope. 8 names, 8 women, 8 stories no one ever asked about. One of them, the youngest, who must have been about 53, spoke in a trembling voice. "Mrs. Eleanor, what you said, what you did, we've never... I mean, no one has ever spoken about us like that." Eleanor took her hands in her own. "How many years have you been working in service?" she asked. 32 years, Ma'am." 32 years? And how many times have you been told a real thank you? Not the automatic thank you that's said without thinking. A real thank you. The one that looks you in the eye and means something. The woman lowered her gaze. "Never," she whispered. "Never, really." Eleanor nodded. "I know. Because I was never told either in 25 years. But that's going to change." She addressed all 8. "I want all of you to come to the training center when it opens. Not as employees, as students. I want you to learn your rights. I want you to learn how to negotiate your salaries. I want you to learn that you have value, that your work has value, that you are more than the uniforms you wear." "But ma'am," said another of the women, "we can't stop working to study. We have families to support." Eleanor smiled. "That's why the courses are at night. That's why they're free. That's why there's childcare included for those who have grandchildren to care for. I've thought of everything, because I was you. I know exactly what you need." The 8 women looked at her as if they were looking at a miracle, as if they couldn't believe what they were seeing was real. "There's something else," Eleanor said. "For those who want to leave domestic service and start something of their own, the Foundation offers interest-free microloans, and for those who want to stay in service, but with better conditions, my companies are hiring. Double minimum wage, health insurance, paid vacations, full Christmas bonus." Hope, the eldest of the 8, stepped forward. "Mrs. Eleanor," she said, her voice broken but firm, "all my life I've been told that I should be grateful to have a job, that I was privileged to be able to clean other people's houses, that I should never complain about anything because there's always someone worse off." She paused. "But you just said what I always felt but could never say. That we are not disposable. That our work matters. That we deserve to be treated like people." Eleanor hugged Hope. A long hug, an embrace that held decades of unspoken words. The hug deepened, one by one. The other 7 women joined in. 9 women embraced in a circle. 9 service uniforms. 9 stories of invisibility. And for the first time, 9 people being seen. When they separated, Eleanor pulled out business cards from her purse. She handed them out to the 8 women. "Here's my contact information, from the center. And my assistants. Anything you need, Tammy's, call us. But don't call to say thank you. Call to participate, to change your lives, to help change the lives of others." The women took the cards as if receiving a treasure. And then, something unexpected happened. Brittany Sterling approached the group. All eyes turned to her, some with hostility, others with curiosity, still others just waiting. Brittany's makeup was smeared, her eyes were swollen, her posture defeated. But something in her expression had changed. "Can I talk to you?" she asked, looking at Eleanor. "In private?" Eleanor looked at her for a long moment, evaluating her, measuring her, deciding. 5 minutes, she said finally. They walked to a corner of the ballroom, away from the camera, away from the remaining guests, away from everything except the truth. Brittany spoke first. "Everything you said is true. Everything. My mother treated the staff like garbage. I grew up seeing it. I learned that's how the world worked, that there were people who served and people who were served. I never questioned anything." She paused out, her hands trembling. When we let you go, I didn't even think about you. I didn't think about your 25 years of work. I didn't think about your accident. I didn't think about anything. To me, you were just a problem to be solved. Eleanor listened silently. Her face showed no emotion. But tonight, Brittany continued, when you walked in through that garden, when I saw you get out of the helicopter, when I heard everything you said, something broke inside me, something that had been whole my entire life. What broke? What? Eleanor asked. The idea that I was better than you, the certainty that my life was worth more than yours, the comfort of believing that things were as they should be. Brittany looked up. Her eyes met Eleanor's. I spent 45 years living a lie, believing that money made me special. That social class defined the value of people. And tonight I discovered that a woman who cleaned my house for 25 years built more in 8 years than my family built in 3 generations. And what do you want me to do with that? Eleanor asked. Her voice wasn't cruel. It was curious. Brittany took a deep breath. You said you were offering me redemption. You said I could come to the center as a volunteer, teach something. Yes, I said that. Brittany looked down again. I don't know if I deserve that opportunity. I don't know if I'll ever be able to make up for what we did to you. But if the offer really still stands, I want to try. Eleanor was silent for a moment that seemed eternal. The offer still stands, she said finally. But there are conditions. What are they? First, you don't come as Mrs. Sterling. You come as Brittany. No last name, no family history, no privileges of any kind. Brittany nodded. Second, you don't just come to teach, you come to learn. You're going to take the same courses as everyone else. You're going to sit in the same chairs. You're going to listen to the same stories. But I'm not a house cleaner, Brittany said, confused. Exactly why, Eleanor replied. You don't understand anything about that world, and you can't teach what you don't understand. First, you learn. Then, you teach. Okay, what else? Third, if at any point you treat anyone at the center the way you treated your staff, if at any point you look at someone as if they're less than you, if at any point you forget why you're there, you're gone. No warning. No second chance. Brittany swallowed hard. I understand. Eleanor stared at her. No. You don't understand yet, but maybe someday you will. She turned to return to the others. Eleanor, Brittany called. Eleanor stopped but didn't turn around. Thank you, Brittany said. Really? Thank you. Eleanor kept walking. But before she got too far away, she said something over her shoulder. Don't thank me. Thank all the women who cleaned up your mess your whole life and never got a thank you. Now you have the opportunity to give it to them. If you've made it this far, if you've kept listening until this moment, then you already understand something fundamental. This story isn't just about Eleanor. This story is about all the people who were ever treated as disposable. All the people who worked for years to be forgotten in minutes. All the people who deserved more than they received. But Eleanor's story didn't end that night. It had barely begun. The Santos Foundation Training Center opened its doors 3 months after the party. What was once an elegant event space was transformed into a space of learning and dignity. The walls that had seen parties for the wealthy now saw classes on labor rights. The tables where French champagne was served now held laptops for computer courses. The crystal chandeliers now illuminated women learning to calculate their own taxes. On the first day of opening, 47 women arrived, all domestic workers, all over 40 years old, all with stories that no one had ever heard. Eleanor was at the door, greeting them one by one, asking them their names, asking them how long they had been working, asking them what they wanted to learn. Some cried upon entering. Not from sadness, from something they didn't have words to describe. Something akin to feeling seen for the first time. Among the 47 women was a familiar face, Hope. the eldest of the catering staff from that night. She had come with her daughter and granddaughter. "Mrs. Eleanor," Hope said, approaching, "this is my daughter Carmen. She also works in cleaning. And this is my granddaughter Lucy. She's 16 years old. She wants to study nursing, but we don't have the money." Eleanor looked at the young woman. She was slender, shy, with eyes that showed intelligence and fear at the same time. "Lucy," Eleanor said, "the foundation has scholarships for daughters and granddaughters of domestic workers. If your grades are good, we can help you with college." Lucy's eyes widened. "Really?" she asked, unable to believe it. "Really? But there's a condition. What is it?" "When you graduate, you have to come back, to teach, to help, to give back what you received." Lucy nodded her head so fast it looked like it would come off. Yes, I promise. I promise." Ellie smiled. It was the same smile she had when she received that text message. The smile of someone who knows. She's building something bigger than herself. The months flew by. The center grew. From 47 women on the first day to 120 in the first month, 300 by the third, 500 by the sixth. The stories multiplied. Women who learned their rights and sued abusive employers. Women who left low-paying jobs and found better ones. Women who started their own cleaning businesses with microloans from the foundation. And among all those stories, there was one that no one expected. Brittany Sterling kept her word. She arrived on the first day of classes, sat in a chair just like everyone else, listened to stories of humiliation that chilled her to the bone, stories that sounded far too familiar, to things she herself had done. At first, the other women looked at her with distrust. They knew who she was. They knew where she came from. They knew what she represented. But Brittany didn't leave. She didn't complain. She didn't ask for special treatment. She took notes like the others, did her homework like the others, answered questions like the others. And slowly, something began to change. One day, one of the women asked her why she was there. Brittany answered with brutal honesty, "Because I've been part of the problem my whole life. Because I treated women like you weren't even people. Because I thought my last name and my money made me better than you. And I was wrong, completely wrong." The woman stared at her for a long moment. "Do you know how many times I've heard someone like you say that?" she asked. Brittany shook her head. "Never, because no one like me ever says it. But I'm saying it, and I'm not just saying it, I'm going to prove it." And she did. Brittany started giving classes in social etiquette, not the empty etiquette of the rich, but practical etiquette. How to behave in a job interview, how to speak with authority without being aggressive, how to dress for different situations without spending a lot of money. At first, the women attended out of curiosity. They wanted to see the fallen socialite, giving classes to maids. But they soon discovered that Brittany really knew what she was talking about and that she really wanted to help. A year after the center opened, Brittany had become one of the most requested teachers, not because she was a good actress, but because she had truly changed. Ellie watched everything from a distance, not with the satisfaction of revenge fulfilled, but with something more complex, something akin to hope, that people can change. But the most important transformation wasn't Brittany's. It was that of the 3,400 women who passed through the center in the first 2 years, women who arrived feeling invisible and left feeling invincible. Women like Josephine, who after 30 years of domestic service opened her own cleaning company and now employs 12 people. Women like Rosa, who learned computer skills at 62 and now works in hospital administration. Women like Antonia, who sued her former employer for years of abuse and won $140,000 in compensation. Each story was different, but they all had something in common. A woman who had been treated as disposable, discovering that she had value. And at the center of it all, literally and figuratively, was Ellie Santos, the maid who wasn't good for anything, the old, black, and overweight woman who had been invited to be humiliated, the disposable woman who built an empire of dignity. 2 years after that night, in the ballroom, Ellie received national recognition. The government named her an honorary citizen for her contribution to the rights of domestic workers. The ceremony was in Washington, D.C., at the White House. Ellie wore the same black dress she had worn that night in the helicopter, the same red high heels, the same diamond necklace, but this time, she didn't arrive by helicopter. She arrived by bus, the same kind of bus she had taken for 25 years to go to work at the Sterling estate. The journalists asked her why. "Because that bus represents who I am," Ellie replied. The helicopter was for a specific moment, to be seen by people who needed to see me. But the bus is my truth. I'm still the same woman I was, only now I have the resources to help others. During the ceremony, she was asked to say a few words. Ellie approached the microphone, looked at the audience, government officials, business leaders, journalists, diplomats, and also, in the last rows, 50 women from the training center who had traveled by bus for 18 hours to be present. Ellie began to speak. 40 years ago, I started working cleaning houses. I was 23 years old. I hadn't finished school. I had no other choice. And for decades, I cleaned other people's messes, thinking that was my destiny, that I couldn't be anything more. She paused. But I was wrong. Not because cleaning houses is bad. Cleaning houses is honest work, necessary work, dignified work. I was wrong because I thought that work defined me, that it was all I could be. She looked directly at the 50 women from the center. The day I was fired, after 25 years of service, they told me I was disposable. That word destroyed me. It made me feel like my whole life had been a waste, that I was worth nothing. Her voice cracked slightly, but she recovered. But that same word saved me, because it forced me to ask myself something I had never asked myself before. If I am disposable, then who isn't disposable? And the answer I found changed my life. She paused again. No one is disposable. Absolutely no one. Not the maid who cleans toilets, not the garbage collector who gets up before dawn, not the lady who sells hot dogs on the corner, not the elderly person who can no longer work. We are all necessary. We all have value. We all deserve dignity. The applause started, but Ellie raised her hand to stop it. I'm not finished. Silence returned. Today, I receive this recognition, and I am grateful. But this recognition is not mine. It belongs to all the women who clean houses in this country. It belongs to all those who never received a thank you. It belongs to all those who were treated as invisible. This recognition is theirs. She took something out of her pocket. It was the termination letter, the same old wrinkled letter she had kept for years. This letter says that I am disposable. I have kept it for 10 years. I have read it hundreds of times. And today, standing before all of you, I'm going to do something I should have done a long time ago. She held the letter up high. I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to tear it up. I'm not going to burn it. I'm going to keep it forever. Because this letter reminds me where I come from. It reminds me why I do what I do. It reminds me that as long as there's even one woman who's treated as disposable, my work isn't finished. She carefully put the letter away. Thank you. The applause was deafening. All 50 women from the center were on their feet, crying, shouting Eleanor's name. But Eleanor wasn't looking at the officials or the diplomats. She was looking at those 50 women, her people, her reason for being. And if you didn't feel anything with this story, if it didn't touch you somewhere deep inside, then maybe you need to ask yourself something. Maybe you need to ask yourself how you treat the people who can't defend themselves. Maybe you need to ask yourself if you've ever made someone feel disposable, because we've all been Eleanor at some point, and we've all been Brittany too. Eleanor, Ellie. Santos's story didn't end with that recognition. It's still alive today. The Santos Foundation Training Center has trained over 3,400 women to date. It has awarded 427 university scholarships. It has funded 183 micro-businesses. Eleanor is 70 years old now. She still goes to the center every day. She still greets the new students at the door. She still asks their names. She still listens to their stories. When people ask her when she plans to retire, she always answers the same thing. I'll retire when there isn't a single woman left who's treated as disposable, which means never, because there will always be work to do. Brittany Sterling still teaches classes at the center. She became the coordinator of the employability program. She no longer uses her last name. Everyone just calls her Brittany. And when someone asks about her past, she answers honestly, I was part of the problem. Now I'm trying to be part of the solution. It's the least I can do. Dr. Hank Bates is still the legal director of the foundation. He works without charging a single dime. When people ask him why, he says that Eleanor restored his faith in humanity. And that's priceless. And Lucy, Esperanza's granddaughter, graduated from nursing school 6 months ago. She kept her promise. Now she teaches first aid classes at the center on Saturdays. But perhaps the most important part of this story is the part that can't be measured with numbers. It's the look on a 60-year-old woman's face as she learns to use a computer and discovers that it's not too late to learn. It's the voice of a house cleaner who says no for the first time in her life and doesn't lose her job. It's the hug between a grandmother and her granddaughter when the granddaughter tells her that she's going to be the first in the family to go to college. It's the moment when someone who was always treated as invisible is finally seen. That's what Eleanor Ellie Santos built. Not an empire of money, an empire of dignity. And it all started with one word, a cruel word, written in a termination letter, disposable, a word that tried to destroy her. But that ended up being the seed of everything that would come after. Because sometimes, the worst things people say to us become the fuel to do the best things we do. Eleanor Ellie Santos was called disposable, and she responded by building a place where no woman would ever feel that way again. That's her legacy, that's her victory, that's her story, and now you know it too, maybe tomorrow. When you see someone cleaning a floor, or serving a table, or taking care of a child that isn't theirs, you'll remember her. Maybe you'll look them in the eyes, maybe you'll ask their name, maybe you'll say thank you, for real. Because every person who does invisible work deserves to be seen, and seeing the invisible is the first step to changing the world. Eleanor understood that. Now, you understand that too. The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge? That's the only question that matters, and the only person who can answer it is you.